Hello everyone, let's have more news about the Miami Heat, but first don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Tyler Herro officially broke out as a sensational on-ball scoring and playmaking force for the Miami Heat in 2024-25. In 77 regular season appearances with the team, the 6'5" shooting guard contributed 23.9 points, 5.5 assists, and 5.2 rebounds, while sporting a 60.5% true shooting percentage, earning his first trip to the All-Star game in the process. The 2020 All-Rookie Second-Team selection and 2022 Sixth Man of the Year has shown steady improvement throughout his 6-year tenure with Miami. As a result of his excellent growth as an all-around offensive threat, Bleacher Report's Eric Pincus recently suggested that the 25-year-old could be due for a massive payday in the very near future. The Jimmy Butler trade drama tanked much of the season, and Miami lost the magic that led to surprisingly long postseason runs with him in the fold, Pincus wrote Tuesday. Still, Tyler Herro earned his first All-Star nod and is probably part of the solution. If so, the Heat can and should sign him to a 3-year extension that runs through the 2029-30 season. If he continues to play at a high level, they can build around him and Bam Adebayo, or his contract can be a trade asset. Projection: Herro signs an extension that can start as high as $46.2 million in the first year. Miami and team president Pat Riley will be looking to remain aggressive with regard to pursuing superstar talent in the coming months. If Miami were to add another star in conjunction with Herro's potential extension, just a few key decisions could serve as the foundation for a truly competitive team in the Eastern Conference next season. Now let's go to another video. Don't forget to leave a like.
The Miami Heat trade Andrew Wiggins this offseason to the San Antonio Spurs because there are rumors out there that the Spurs are looking to upgrade their wing position on their roster. And after seeing the report, I kind of put my thinking cap on and was like, well, Andrew Wiggins could make sense for San Antonio. We'll discuss that and more, but hit that sub button for daily Miami Heat content here at the Heat Report. I'm Nick Roloff. We do a lot of work here. We're also losing our sub battle by about 210 subs to the 76ers channel in the month of May. Got a couple days to try to make that up. Join the channel if you're a Heat fan looking for daily Miami Heat content. I've been pretty open about this, but I would look to trade Andrew Wiggins this offseason. I was excited about acquiring him in the Jimmy Butler deal. I thought after all of the chaos, the return Miami ultimately got for Jimmy was a good one, that being a first-round pick in this year's draft, as well as Andrew Wiggins, and then you ultimately parlayed that into Davion Mitchell. So it's like, when you think about it, Davion Wiggins in a first is a pretty good haul for Jimmy Butler. But the Wiggins-Heat marriage, at least at the beginning, is not been successful. And I tweeted this out during the first-round playoff series between Miami and Cleveland, where the Heat obviously got swept in embarrassing fashion. I think I'm out on Andrew Wiggins long-term with the Heat. It just was not a good marriage in the regular season. And then with Wiggins struggling as much as he did in the playoffs, like, that is why I would think about moving off of him, because I just don't know if his fit in the scheme and system is ultimately going to work out long-term. Like, the issue that I had with Wiggins was actually more or less his ability to not play games. He could have played 33 games in the regular season since being traded for at the deadline. He played just about half of them. He played in 17 of 33 games in the regular season. Did play in all 4 playoff games, but it was rough. The efficiency took a massive dip, 8% shooting-wise. He turned the ball over consistently, averaged about 7 points less in those 4 playoff games. It was just a disaster. He looked terrible. He played in barely 50% of the regular season games. And for those 2 reasons, if you're not going to play and then you're not going to show up in the playoffs, like, even if the Heat still lost in 4 games, but the games were close and Andrew Wiggins looked like a good playoff performer, well, then I think we would have a different conversation. It's like, all right, the Heat just need to upgrade around Herro, Wiggins, and Bam, and then maybe we can have a real talk at that point guard position, that is. But he just looked terrible in a Heat uniform during the postseason, and for the fact that he wasn't in a Heat uniform as often as I'd want him to be, yeah, I'm kind of out on Andrew Wiggins. But let me know. It's today's pinned comment. So if you hit with YouTube ad break, scroll down, let it play, and answer the question. Do you want to trade Andrew Wiggins like yours truly? Type T for trade or type K for keep. I want to see what the people have to say in the comment section. The reason why we're discussing this idea of him going to San Antonio, though, is because Sam Charania went on Pat McAfee this week and was talking about the Spurs' plans this offseason and said that he believes they are going to be very active in the trade market for a wing that could come into their roster and take them over the top. Now, most people hear this, and Shams even mentioned him by name. I do think this likely means the Spurs are going to look to potentially acquire Kevin Durant. Both of them, in terms of San Antonio and KD, held interest in each other this past trade deadline, which is a video we did yesterday. And I truly believe if San Antonio and KD are interested in joining forces, that will ultimately happen because the Spurs have the better package than Miami and could contend right away. You might need the Spurs not to be interested in KD or Durant to not want to go to San Antonio, but I don't know why that would be the case either way. But let's just say KD isn't, and like Minnesota goes out and trades for Durant, and KD wants to join up with Anthony Edwards. Well, here are the top 5 wings that could come in, upgrade that Spurs roster, and these players could be available this offseason. Now, some of them are more likely than not. Like Andrew Wiggins is likely. Michael Porter Jr. is likely. Jaylen Brown and Mikal Bridges are up in the air. Plus, what would San Antonio offer those two contending teams in the East that they would be willing to move off of those individual guys? But when you think about this list of wing candidates potentially on the trade block this offseason, you talk Andrew Wiggins, Michael Porter Jr., and Cam Johnson. Now, I don't think San Antonio would want to pay Michael Porter Jr. $38 million over the next 2 seasons, each year, that is. So, to me, if you're thinking about a player that could come in and potentially elevate that Spurs roster, I'm thinking Andrew Wiggins, I'm thinking Cam Johnson. And Cam Johnson makes a lot of sense because there's also buzz out there that Brooklyn would like to move up in the lottery. They have the 8th pick right now. San Antonio obviously has pick number 2. But I don't think Cam Johnson in the 8th pick is going to be good enough for the Spurs to move off of the number 2 pick. But the Spurs do have another first-round pick, so maybe they trade 14 and other assets for Cam Johnson, and now Brooklyn has 2 picks, 8 or 14, and they can do whatever they want with it. But I think Wiggins would be another potential option for San Antonio because I don't think it would be that much to acquire Andrew Wiggins. Now, here is what my trade offer would be. Now, I don't know who calls up who first, whether it's the Heat, whether it's San Antonio. Either way, I think this is fair. The Heat get Harrison Barnes and Malachi Branham, plus the first-round pick that they have at that 14th overall slot. And I think this makes sense potentially for both teams here. We'll talk about Miami's perspective briefly first and then talk about why I would be so interested with that 14th pick. But for the Heat, Harrison Barnes is on a 1-year, $19 million deal. Malachi Branham is on a 1-year, $4.9 million deal. It's a team option. So assuming the Spurs pick that up and then trade him, you are getting $23.9 million worth of expiring contracts. You pair that up with Terry Rozier's expiring contract, that is $26.6 million. Haywood Highsmith's $5 million expiring contract. You're now looking at $55 million coming off of your books after this 25-26 season. That could benefit you greatly in free agency or being flexible on the trade market next offseason. But you also get that 14th overall pick, which is something I covet at a very high level because I think there are a lot of good players available in the lottery this year. Can't say the same for at the end of the first round. It's players that we thought were going to be in the NBA draft ultimately ended dropping out. But that 14th pick could be something very valuable to me and the Miami Heat. And from San Antonio's perspective, why they could think of doing this trade, they looked to move off Harrison Barnes last season. And I think they would be likely trying to do it again. They said they want to update that wing spot. Well, you trade for Andrew Wiggins, yeah, KD would be more enticing, but like we said, in a world where that doesn't happen, Wiggins could be an option. Well, now you have a starting lineup of De'Aaron Fox, Devin Vassell, Stephon Castle, Rookie of the Year, Andrew Wiggins at the 4. They played Harrison Barnes at the 4 mostly last season, so I believe Wiggins would fill that void. And then obviously Wembanyama coming back from injury. And then off of the bench, you have the number 2 pick, where they're probably taking Dylan Harper. They have Keldon Johnson. They have Jeremy Sohan. That is an extremely versatile and scary 8-man lineup. That does not factor in the idea where they could go out and make other moves by trading a Sohan, by trading a Keldon Johnson with some of their future draft capital, signing some other veterans on the free agent market. Like, the Spurs would be, I think, one of the more up-and-coming Western Conference teams. And with that roster that we just displayed, that 8-man lineup, assuming they're able to stay relatively healthy next season, I would project that squad to be a top 6 team in the Western Conference without a question. That is a very scary team, and Wiggins can fit them beautifully in terms of his defensive connectivity, his ability to hit some open catch-and-shoot threes, as well as be a solid dunker spot and off-ball mover in a complementary half-court scheme that would be very good for Victor Wembanyama, De'Aaron Fox. Like, I do think the fit for Wiggins in San Antonio makes sense. The contract isn't bad for the next 2 seasons. But it just simply didn't work out for Miami and Wiggins, which is why I think I'd be willing to make that deal. And I think San Antonio would be slightly interested as well. Going to look at why the 14th pick is so enticing to me here, but get your Heat quarter zip today. Chatsports.com/HeatQZip sale. 50% off. It is on clearance, usually $85, now $42. I wore this a lot during the season. It didn't result in a lot of wins, but you saw us at the season and the watch parties, win or lose, we still got booze. So get yours as well here today. Chatsports.com/HeatQZip sale. All right, let's segue now into the 14th overall pick, because if you're making that trade where you're getting rid of Andrew Wiggins, well, you're not doing it for Harrison Barnes and Malachi Branham. You're doing it for that 14th overall pick, which would allow you now to have 2 selections in the draft at 14 and 20. And some of the players that I want the most in the NBA draft will not be there with that 20th overall pick. These are the 8 guys that I would really look to target in the late lottery. Now, a couple of these players in a ideal, unbelievable world could be there with the 20th overall pick. Those players be Fleming, Clifford, and Cedric Coward. But if I had to place money on it, I would say it's more likely than not that all 3 of them are gone rather than 2 of them being there. But it gives you versatility, right? We've talked about Kasper Siakashon, Agor Demen as players that I really like to potentially fill that point guard of the future role next to Tyler Herro in the Heat's backcourt. But you could also go with a good center rotation if you added Thomas Sorber, if you added Derek Queen. Carter Bryant is another player that I'm relatively intrigued with. I like these 8 guys and would be very happy with any of them at pick 20. I'd be probably jumping up and down with any of those guys at 20. But if you traded up ultimately and got the 14th pick and took any of those 8 guys, I would not be upset at that either. But more or less of the story, you have added flexibility if you acquire that 14th pick, because you have 2 first-rounders to address needs. You can go with your 3rd rotational big man that you need at 14 or 20. High upside guy, Queen or Sorber, maybe even a little Danny Wolf action at 20 if you wanted to. You can go with a guard wing, guard center. Like, you could do so much with those picks. You can go a Fleming, a Clifford, a Cedric Coward at 14, and then maybe a Nolan Traore or Ben Seraph at 20. You could do so many different things. It's awesome. You could package those picks to move up if you wanted to. I don't know if a team would want that, but say you package 14 and 20 to move up to the 10th pick, to the 8th pick, to get a Jeremiah Fears potentially. That's another option as well. Like, you just have so much. Or you can take 2 players at 14 and 20 and help move that in a potential trade. Like, if you made that trade, you would then have a stronger package for, say, a Giannis and Anthony Edwards if they opted out and requested a trade, which I don't forecast. I don't think Miami would be in the sweepstakes anyway. But it would just give you more ammunition to acquire another first-round pick, because those are more valuable than a veteran like Andrew Wiggins at this point in his career. So the flexibility of adding another first-round pick.
Literally 14th in fourth quarter points per game. And if you want to go based off total points in the fourth quarter, DeMar DeRozan was 3rd last year. And that's been a consistent thing that he's done his whole career. He's always been a phenomenal fourth quarter scorer. Last year, we said he was 3rd. The year before that, he was actually 1st overall. And then the year before that, he was once again 3rd, in total fourth quarter points. So A lot of that may just be because the Bulls were a mid team, so they were in a lot of close games, meaning the starters played a lot of minutes, and that's the fact. They were mid, and I guess that's part of the problem, right? Because DeMar DeRozan has kind of been the poster child for mid teams for quite a while now. I know we all joke that the Miami Heat or I guess we're not really joking because it's true, but we all say that the Miami Heat are kings of the play-in tournaments. Well, DeMar DeRozan is the same. DeMar is definitely a platinum member of the play-in tournament. Whether it was with the Chicago Bulls or the Sacramento Kings, he has always been there. So I think Heat fans pretty much agree on what the knocks of DeMar DeRozan are right now. Of course, he's an older player. He has had a tendency not to show up in the playoffs. And of course, he really can't shoot threes. He doesn't provide a ton of spacing, although I think the whole spacing thing with DeMar is a little bit overrated because he is a good enough shooter where guys don't leave him wide open like he's Ben Simmons. They still do go out to contest him. So I think that part's a little bit overrated, although spacing in general isn't overrated. But the most important flaw of DeMar DeRozan, in my opinion, is that he's not a needle mover. Out of all the DeMar talk going around these last couple of days, I think everybody agrees that sure, if the Heat make that move for the right price, it's not terrible, but that can't be the Miami Heat's only move this offseason. So that begs the question, what else is there? I put together a couple of trades, and truthfully, I don't like them. And I had trouble finding something I do like. I mean, do the Heat go with this? Do they go get Trae Young and lean into all offense? The Miami Heat get Trae Young and DeMar, send Terry Rozier, Jovic, and 2 second-round picks to the Kings because on that contract, on that age, I'm not giving up a first-round pick for DeMar DeRozan. And then do we go to the Atlanta Hawks, maybe give them Tyler Herro and a couple of first-round picks? Is Trae Young even on the table? We don't know that at this point. But as far as the Miami Heat, I think if you get Trae Young, one, you have to trade Tyler Herro because, of course, that backcourt's not going to work. So who's your 2 guard now, assuming DeMar DeRozan is your 3? Who's your 2 guard? Is that Andrew Wiggins? Well, that spacing wouldn't be great with Wiggins, DeMar, Bam, and Ware, especially the way Wiggins was shooting in the playoffs. I know he has shown that he has been capable of hitting the 3 ball, but he's certainly not known as a floor spacer, so you have some problems there. So let's say you don't even start Wiggins. Let's say you bring him and his $30 million off the bench. Who do you start? Haywood Highsmith shot the ball very well from 3 last year. He can play some defense. Do you want Haywood Highsmith being your starting 2? Probably not, although I personally prefer him to start at the 2 than the power forward like Spoelstra's been trying for these last couple of years. Just because his wingspan is 7 foot doesn't mean you have to play him at power forward. This is like the 3rd straight video where I ranted about Spo playing small guys at the power forward. Haywood Highsmith is 6'5". He shoots like 40% from 3. He can play the 2. Although that wouldn't be the best option, I'll admit. Who else do you go? Do you re-sign Davion Mitchell? Do you put him at the 2 guard? Do you maybe go after somebody else and with the little money you have left over in free agency, you just have minimum contracts? Or do you try to find someone else in the trade market, flip your last tradable first-round pick to try to get a really nice 3-and-D 2 guard? Do you maybe put DeMar DeRozan at the 2? Because defensively, that's still pretty bad. If DeMar and Trae Young's your backcourt, I don't really like that either. So I don't know. I mean, if you want to keep Wiggins off the bench, which again, it's paying that much money to a guy to come off the bench would suck, but I don't think I'd like him in the starting lineup with the spacing with DeMar DeRozan. I don't think I would do it. So put Hayward at the 2. I don't care. You got Trae Young, Haywood Highsmith, DeMar DeRozan, Bam Adebayo, Khalil Ware. I mean, maybe that could work, but that just feels ugly to me. I can't explain it, but the vibes are off. It just feels ugly. So what's another option? Do you go after Kevin Durant and just go all in on the old heads? Go all in on the Miami retirement home? The Miami Heat could have a starting lineup of, I don't know, Tyler Herro, DeMar, Kevin Durant, Bam Adebayo, Khalil Ware. It's like, in this case, I don't even know what Durant's trade value is. I had the Suns getting Wiggins in this point with Jovic and 2 first-round picks. Maybe that's a bit of an overpay. I don't know. And then I also had the Kings getting our last first-round pick since we now had to send Jovic to the Suns. So I had the Kings getting Pelle Larsson here too. But, I mean, is that worth it for a lineup of Herro, DeMar, Durant, Bam, and Ware? I don't think so, because that lineup feels more clunky and bad offensively than the previous lineup, where the Heat got Trae Young. I mean, at this point, you might as well go and get Chris Paul. Get Chris Paul. Get DeMar. Get KD. Get Garrett Temple. I know he's still hanging on a thread somewhere in the league. Go get Udonis Haslem out of retirement. Bring back some Heat culture. I don't know. The point is, I just don't really know what the follow-up move is. I suppose you could make DeMar the bench player, but it's like, which I mean, that would not be terrible, right? In terms of fit, you got a really nice offensive scorer coming off the bench, and just because he's coming off the bench doesn't mean that he can't close games. Of course, you would still want DeMar DeRozan closing games. So now you're doing what? Paying $25 million for a guy to come off the bench? That's the same problem that I just said I had with Wiggins a couple minutes ago. So I like DeMar DeRozan. I do. I think he's a good player. But I'm tired of overpaying all these guys who aren't needle movers, especially for multiple years. Because you're already paying Andrew Wiggins $30+ million for multiple more seasons. And spoiler alert, if you didn't watch this last postseason, he's not a needle mover either. So as much as I like DeMar DeRozan as a person and a player, as of right now, today, I think I'm cool on trading for him, to be honest. I think I'm good. Like, I do not need that in my life. A year ago, when you had Jimmy Butler to be the guy, the 1A, and then you could have had DeMar as his sidekick as his number 2, I would have been cool with that. I would have liked that. But right now, it doesn't make sense to get the Robin first. It doesn't make sense to bring in the help of DeMar DeRozan when you don't have the guy. You don't have that 1A, because you might never get that 1A. So now you're stuck here with DeMar DeRozan making all that money. It just doesn't make sense, and it's kind of ass backwards. So I think the Heat should focus this offseason on whale hunting, and if you can't land your star, then they should just blow it up, honestly, which they won't. They would trade for DeMar DeRozan, and they'll use him to patch this leaking team as the Band-Aid, only making the problem worse or pushing it further down the line, because that's how the Miami Heat operate. And I respect that they don't want to tank, but sometimes you got to take 2 steps backwards to take 3 steps forward. Now, that's not to say that they won't get Durant. I'm still a blind idiot who thinks we have a chance at Giannis. I'll admit it. I like to get my hopes up because that's all we can do at this point, because we never get anybody. But I don't know. We'll revisit this video in like 3 months when they sign DeMar.
The Miami Heat saw a disappointing end to the season, an unlikely situation for a franchise that is otherwise synonymous with postseason success. This in itself has triggered a need to make some drastic moves to see them emerge as contenders again. The Heat saw some major changes last season. With a franchise cornerstone in Jimmy Butler on his way out, the Heat now features a young duo of stars in Bam Adebayo and Tyler Herro. Andrew Wiggins has also been a great addition in this regard. A solid veteran with championship experience can be of great benefit to a team, but what the Heat need is a first option. While they have shown immense talent and potential, it is quite evident that there are some missing pieces. Their hunt for a star of this caliber has seen them linked to several big names in the league. On this note, Sacramento Kings star DeMar DeRozan has appeared as a potential target for the Heat, and as per recent reports, the Heat have also been viewed as the most likely landing spot for the 35-year-old in the offseason. After a particularly disappointing season with the Kings, it is clear that DeRozan's title window is closing fast. With a need to join a winning side, Miami might just be the place for him. Let's take a look at a potential trade package that could help the Heat land the lethal mid-range scorer. The Miami Heat features an extremely talented bunch of players led by a competent coach in Eric Spoelstra. With the likes of Herro, Adebayo, and Wiggins running the show, Miami has all the right pieces to be successful. However, the addition of DeRozan potentially transforms them into a title contender. The 35-year-old has made a career out of being a bona fide scorer, and when it comes to the mid-range, he is one of the best in the business. DeRozan averaged 22.2 points, 3.9 rebounds, and 4.4 assists per game on shooting splits of 47.7% from the field. And you, fan, what do you think about DeMar DeRozan's situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.